Boys, what is up? Here we are again, and here we are this time with an EXP lane tier list. So let's get right into it. Let's see what, in my opinion, are the best EXP laners right now. And we're starting off with Julian, and I think Julian in this patch is actually in the SS super overpowered. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna place him in the S tier. I don't think he's super overpowered. He is kind of meta right now, but I think he's just strong. I don't think he is super overpowered. You know, he has great burst damage. He has great combinations. He can be very safe to play. With the empowered third, you can be dealing a lot of damage with empowered first, and you have the potential to CC an entire team with empowered second. But you know what? I think despite all that, he deserves to be in the S tier instead of the double S tier, because there are few better options. But we'll get to that. So next up we have Paquito. I think Paquito, you know, mobility wise, he's good. Damage wise, he is good. I think he's pretty much good in everything, but they nerfed his damage. And I think I'm actually considering putting him in S because of the mobility and because of the damage he deals and because of the potential he has. However, I think for the average player, let's take that into consideration here. I think he deserves to be in A tier. I think he's good, but I don't think he's perfect. You build the Quaras, and then you can pretty much ignore him. Then up next we have my boy Glue. I think my boy Glue deserves to be in the SS super overpowered tier. Despite the previous nerfs, because as soon as you scale up, as soon as you get some levels, soon as you hit level 4, you can take on almost everyone in the game. Then up next, we've already spoken about glue in the previous video, so I'm not gonna go too deep into it this time. Up next, we have Mincetar. I think Mincetar is just meh. I don't think he's bad, but I don't think he's good. Maybe after the rework, we'll see something else. Um, but we'll have to find out about that. I think his grab is just meh. I mean, especially in XP lane, the grab it's not consistent enough. I would say if you want to play Mincetar, pick him as a counter pick. As a counter pick to something that dashes a lot. That's basically it. Then we have Cho. I prefer Cho in XP lane over having Cho in Roam because I think there's just a lot of better Roam options, as we discussed in the previous video as well. But I'm going to put Cho into the good because of his early damage. I think he has a ton of early damage, a lot of dueling potential, and the kick is game changing in XP lane. So I'm gonna put Cho in A, the good tier. Then up next, I wouldn't say Akai is an XP laner, so I'm not gonna put Akai in the list. We have Kaja. I think Kaja at this point, the suppress is the strongest CC in the game, so I think the ult is very good. Damage wise, Kaja is not bad, but not great. Um, he's not really being picked as an XP laner at the moment. He's more being played like Roam-ish. Although it's been a while since I've seen one, so for that reason, I'm going to put him in the B tier, in the meh. I think he's just like, somewhere in between the pack. In between the pack. Then up next we have Aldous. I think Aldous is also pretty meh in XP lane at the moment. Uh, he's actually being played more often in mid. He's still kind of an XP laner, but he's played in mid because he can stack way faster in mid lane. But that's why I'm putting him in the B tier because you know what? Why play him in XP lane when you can play him mid and scale faster, right? I mean, I think that's the entire point of Aldous. Then let's move next up into Alice. I think Alice is good. The only problem that I have with Alice is that she scales extremely slowly. Um, if you get to the late game, if you get to scale, then Alice is a menace to play against. She's very strong, very the lifesteal is huge. You can build Winter Truncheon and not die. Um, so I think Alice is good. I think she's undervalued, and not enough people are playing her. I'm thinking of picking her up. But I'm gonna say she is a good. Then up next we have Alpha. Alpha, honestly, right now he's just kind of bad. He's just bad. Um, doesn't have enough damage. Uh, if we take a look at if we compare Alpha's through damage to something like Karina or something like Carry, then you can see that Alpha is just basically obsolete. And it's pretty sad because I think Alpha's a pretty cool character. I kind of like his kit, but he just doesn't do enough. He just does not do enough. So up next we have Alucard. I think Alucard is just meh for XP lane at the moment. I think you're better off playing as a core. Because if you play Alucard into one of the more meta XP laners, you're just gonna get absolutely smacked. Speaking of experience, played against a few of the meta characters that we'll be talking about later on in the video as soon as we get to them. But yeah, Alucard B tier, meh. Same with Argus. It's kind of the same reasoning. I mean, Argus is just the ult has a delay every single time you activate it. Um, Split pushing wise, he's okay, but there are better picks. Um, and yeah, I mean, not really much to say about Argus. He's a basic attacking melee hero, which is never a good thing, you know. All right, up next we have. I don't think Aulus is played in XP. I think if Aulus is played in XP, he would probably be kind of bad. Again, much better in core. I mean, I would say bad or meh. I'm not really sure. Once he gets level 4, he gets like a decent spike. I'll put him in meh as well. I'll put him in meh. Carmilla XP, don't do that. Don't do that. Play Carmilla Roam. If you want to play Carmilla Roam. Up next, Hilda. I think Hilda is pretty solid. I'm gonna put her in A. She has a pretty big amount of base damage. She is very tanky from her base stats as well. Um, then once you get ult, I mean, you can pretty much one-shot somebody or one combo somebody at level 4, which makes her pretty nutty if you ask me. So what I'm thinking is I'm gonna keep her in A. She wins a lot of matchups, and the only thing about her that is bad is that she's kind of kiteable. But even then, like if you're running sprint, like you're not gonna get kited. You're not getting kited. I'm telling you. So up next, I we have Badang, and I think Badang is very strong. I think his passive and his second make him a menace, and his first as a poke in lane. If you're playing, as long as you're playing against a melee hero, Badang is gonna be very, very good, very strong, and really annoying to play against. And the fact that DHS works on his ult makes him even nuttier. Then up next we have Grok. I think Grok is, honestly, I don't have a lot of experience on Grok, but I think he's just bad. I think he's just bad. I think Grok, you don't want to play Grok in XP lane. If you want to play Grok in Rome. Um, and play Grok as a counter pick, perhaps. Like if they have a Fanny, you can wall her off. If they have a lot of people with no dashes, you can wall them off. So counter pick, perhaps, maybe. Balmond, don't play Balmond in XP. Don't play him in XP. Play him core. Same reasoning as Carmella right here. Just play him core. Bane, I think Bane is just bad. I don't think he has the damage right now. I actually played against the Bane very recently. I was playing Arlot, and this guy went like 0-10, and that was in Mythical Glory. So yeah. Barats again. I mean, honestly, Barats is just meh. I think he's just meh. He's tanky. He has some base damage, but I think he's just being better off in core. Uh, Again. Then up next, again Benedetta. I don't really have much experience on her. But all the Benedettas I've seen in my team, they were like 0-10. So I'm just gonna say Benedetta in XP lane, bad. That's basically all. Okay, so Edith. I think Edith is double S tier. She's very strong. She has high tankiness when she is in her base form, And if she goes out of the base form and you ult, she deals ton, a a ton of damage. On top of that, you have double CC in your base form, you have a CC in your ult form, and you heal while basic attacking. So for me, I run Vengeance on her because I like to be at least a little bit tanky still when I ult. But Edith, definitely worth checking out, definitely worth playing. Whether it's in XP lane or in Rome, either way, she's gonna work out for you. Definitely try her out if you have not. Then Bellaric, don't play Bellaric in XP. Play Bellaric in Rome. I've seen Moonton is trying to push him into XP. I don't know why, but play him Rome for the love of God. So then we have Ruby. I think Ruby is pretty good. She has CC. She has a bit of mobility. She has damage. She has healing. She has stankiness. You know, whatever it may be that you need of her, she can bring it to your team. So I think Ruby's pretty good. Then up next we have Gatot. I think Gatot at the moment is kind of meh. I think his healing on his basic attack is good. You have a taunt, which is good. You have an engage, which is good. But then better off to play him Rom. If you want to play Gatot, play him Rom. Up next we have Dairoth. I think Dairoth is good to strong. Because if you know, okay, I'm gonna put him in strong because if you know how to abuse the early game that you have as Dairoth, you can transition that early game into the late game or into the mid game as well. So I would say Dairoth is definitely strong, definitely S tier. Up next we have Esmeralda. Esmeralda just got buffed. I think Esme is in a pretty decent position right now. She deals more damage, so you want to go mage on her, mage emblem, mage items, or support emblem with mage items. Um, and a little bit of tankiness perhaps. She's very annoying to lane against. Like she is absolutely a menace to lane against. You don't want to lane against Esmeralda. It's just no fun. So if you're into like not having let people having fun, then you should definitely try her out. Up next, what do we have? We have Fredrin. I think Fredrin belongs in the S tier. Very strong hero, very high base tankiness. You have some damage. You have a lot of damage on your ult if you play it right. Overall, I think he's just really good, and that's why he deserves the S tier. Then up next, we have Freya. I think Freya does not have a place in the meta currently. I think I'm just gonna give her the B tier. Let me take a sip of coffee first, boys. Yeah, definitely. I think she's just meh at the moment. Not super strong. I mean, with all the mobility that's in the game, uh, being a melee basic attacking hero, I mean, I guess you could say you do get a little bit of range when you ult, but overall, I would say Freya is meh. Then up next we have Guinevere, and I don't have much experience with Guinevere, but I think she deserves to be in the A tier definitely because of her base damage, her like little reset on her first or whatever it is. Then her ult is a menace if paired well with someone like, for example, a Gatot Roam or an Atlas Roam would work. An Atlas is meta right now in this in the Roam, so Guinevere A tier for me. Then up next we have, let's see, who is Jawhead. I feel like Jawhead is really strong. I think Jawhead is also one of those underutilized heroes because in a 1v1 situation, you are almost unbeatable. If you are in a 1v1 and you can somehow stray away from the minions, Jawhead wins every single fight. And I think he's underutilized, and people will probably pick up on that. So up next, we have Joy. I'm not a fan of Joy in XP lane. I think Joy deserves a meh. Um, so her combo is really hard. Most people will probably not get the timing right in the middle of a team fight, or die trying to get the timing right because you don't want to wait with the dashes. You want to use the dashes when you need them. You know what I mean? So her base damage is pretty okay in the early game. However, when it goes to the later stages of the game, even in mid game, she already starts falling off. So that's why Joy she's too hard for too little payout. That's why I'm putting her in the B tier. Then up next we have Khalid, and I think Khalid is maybe I should make an okay tier. Goddamn, I think he's all right, but not exactly good. So I'm gonna put Khalid in the meh. I think his second is really good to deny burst. I think his first is a pretty decent amount of base damage, especially if you land all three or just the third one. However, it doesn't make him good enough to stick up with the meta peeps. You know what I mean? Then up next we have Lapu Lapu, and I think Lapu Lapu is S tier, double S tier. He's really strong. He deals a lot of damage. He heals a lot. He has a lot of mobility. He's basically everything you need in a hero. So if you wanna learn how to play XP lane and you wanna start with something that is meta, definitely pick up Lapu Lapu. Then Leomord right now in XP lane is I'm just gonna put him in B tier. Meh. He's really strong as a core, I believe. Very strong because you have a lot of ganking potential. But as a XP laner, I think just not good. He's just not good. Then up next, what do we have? We have ourselves a Martis. And Martis in XP lane, I would say is good. He's good, but he's not strong or not OP. Or you know what? I'm actually considering to put him in strong because I think he is pretty strong, but he's still a melee hero. And in comparison to the actual meta heroes right now, he's not strong. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna put Martis in the A tier, um, because of that. Then up next we have Masha, and Masha is just bad. Don't play Masha. Masha bad. Okay, I don't have to go deeper into that. Masha bad. Then up next, what do we have? We have Phovius. Phovius at the moment is pretty meh. I would say just pick Phovius if you're gonna counter a team that is filled with dashes. Like imagine they have Lancelot, Selena, One, uh, Guinevere, whatever. A lot of dashes. Pick Phovius. Any other reason? Don't 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 pick Phobias. All right, then I've seen some people go Saber XP lane. I do not like that. Don't go Saber XP lane. Saber XP lane bad. Okay, you wanna play Saber? Go core. You wanna play Saber? Maybe go roam. Don't play him in XP lane. XP lane needs a bulky fighter, something that can survive a hit. You know, Saber cannot survive a hit unless you build him tank. But then I don't know about that one. Up next we have Sylvana. Okay, so I think Sylvana is pretty meh at the moment. She just doesn't keep up with the meta. Her damage is not exactly enough. I like her ult. I think it's cool, locking people into place. I like her spiral twist. I think spiraling on people is cool as well. But she's just not good enough at the moment. That is a bit of a problem. Then we have Sun. I think Sun is meh. I think he's a pretty capable split pusher. Um, but that's really all that I would use him for, just as a split pusher. So I'd run Arrival and then just split push lanes, and I think that would work out. Then up next we have Terizla. I think Terizla is. I want to say he's good, but then I don't think he belongs in this list with all these other characters. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put Terizla in meh, simply because he doesn't really have mobility. His ult you can just get out of, you can just dash and then you're gone. Overall his damage is pretty darn solid, but I would say despite having solid damage, he doesn't really have much else going for him, so I'm gonna put him in the meh tier. Then up next we have Tamus, and Tamus used to be in the double S tier. However, now I think he's just good. The new build still works on him, but he's not what he used to be. He has like some of that base tankiness, especially with his ult. However, the others just outclass him a bit. Then we have Uranus. Uranus at the moment is just bad. Especially, almost every single marksman is running the new build right now, which has DHS, which has corrosion side. Uranus is just gonna get melted, unfortunately. And that goes for all the tanks in XP lane, basically. Unfortunately, it's just not good anymore. Then up next we have Exborg. I think Exborg is pretty good, but I might be a little bit biased here because I used to play a lot of Exborg. I'm gonna end up putting him in the B tier because he just, without his ult, he just doesn't really deal damage. The Flame Spitter takes a little bit too long to ramp up. However, his ult is really good for contesting objectives. It's really good for team fights. However, after you ult, you're kind of like a little bit of a sitting duck. It's kind of gonna be hard to get away from all of the excuse me, basically everything above the A class. It's gonna be so hard to get away from. But yeah, I mean, Exborg doesn't need to be said much about. He is going to be in the B tier. Now we have Yin. I think Yin is, he's okay, but he's not really good, so I'm gonna put him in the B tier as well. He's pretty much better off played as a core. If you want to play Yin, just play core. You know. Then up next we have Zilong. I think Zilong is never really a super great hero. I'm gonna put him in B tier as well because just like Sun, he's pretty good at split pushing. So if you play Zilong, your prime focus is going to be these turrets, right? And that's what I did when I played Zilong. I was 0-10, but I still got all the turrets and we won the game. So yeah, I mean that's just a Zilong's job, I suppose. Or in the late game, you can actually one shot squishies. Um, but again, like you would much want to, if you like Zilong, you'd much rather play Lapu Lapu or Tyroth or Padang or anyone really. Um, I'm on XP, don't do it. Just play core. Yeah, I'm on core. Now Yuzong, I think Yuzong is in the double S tier as well. Yuzong has some great engage, great zoning capabilities, great um everything basically. He's great at everything. His early game dueling potential is immense. If someone 1v1s you, they're just gonna die. No one can 1v1 Yuzong at the moment. Then I mean we could play the situational cards as well. The Zask. I mean Zask is meh in XP. I prefer mid because you can just influence everything. Every time a turtle spawns, every time an objective is about to go down, you can roam, you can do whatever. So Zask better off in mid. In XP is kind of meh. Let's see. Did I miss anyone? I mean Valentina in XP is pretty good. I would say Valentina is good. Valentina is pretty much good everywhere. Because of her high base damage, she can steal ults. Really good as a counter pick to something like 1-1 or even Edith. That's a really hard matchup for Edith if she's playing against Valentina. Equal skill level, Valentina wins. Not so equal skill level, Valentina might still win. So it's very very hard. And I think we got all the XP laners, unless I'm missing something. Let me know in the comments down below. But that is basically the tier list right here. And yeah, thank you all for watching. You guys enjoyed my opinion on the tier list for XP lane. And that will be all for us for today, folks. Peace.